trust in you. Hey man, I do believe you, no matter what you do. Hey man, I will follow. Please lead me. Hey man, I do believe you. I do. Hey man, I do believe you. I do. All you gotta do is blow when I say, hey, I guess you got good food and you're golden cake. Hey, as long as you seduce, you just gotta love a few. Yeah, you should believe it's true. I just want the best for you. Hey man, I do believe you, no matter what you do. Hey man, I will follow. Please lead me. Hey man, I do believe you. I do. Hey man, I do believe you. I believe until I saw what you did to me. I was feeling free. Tracked you around over 1,000 miles, but your strings were attached. Oh, on my mind. Hey man, I do believe you. I do. Hey man, I do believe you. I do. Hey man, I do
Welcome. We are back. How is everybody doing? Yeah, if I talk really quickly tonight, it is because I've had a lot of caffeine today. I've had 2 cups of coffee, and I'm having tea right now, as per usual. So we're back, another day in the market, and interesting price action today. We started off green, bouncing up a bit, and then we pulled back, we went red, and then we kind of recovered. There was a little bit of like a wedge. Today was really good for the intraday technicals on both sides for calls and puts. There were some nice bear flags that led to nice moves for puts, and then vice versa, some nice falling wedges that led to nice moves for calls. But overall, you didn't really have much change when everything was said and done for like the overall indices. However, there are some, and this is something I think we talked about last night, there are some areas of the market quietly standing apart, doing their own thing. And one of them right now, I mean, in general, you have growth stocks kind of outperforming. You had the ARK ETF, which represents a lot of those types of stocks, up 3% today, when the S&P 500 only closed up about 0.4%. But even more so, EVs. I mean, you'd think, we're currently in a time where we have all these macro concerns, where the overall stock market, looking at the major indices, has really been pulling back, especially with yesterday. And EVs, a lot of pre-revenue companies, a lot of more speculative names. Those are the names that are actually kind of hot right now. So we're going to look at some of those charts in a little bit. We're going to talk about my thoughts on the market. There are some key levels I'm watching. We are at a huge test for the market. I'm going to explain all that in a little bit. Before we get into that, I'm going to talk about crypto really quickly. I'm going to talk about some other markets like metals and some futures and stuff. So we'll get into that. It's going to be a fun stream. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get started with Bitcoin. We talked about yesterday how, you know, pull back on that CPI data, and now you're just back testing the breakout of this downsloping channel. So it's okay as long as you hold this 19.9K support. Your MACD is waning a little bit back towards green, and you did actually just print a 4-hour bullish engulfing candle, and I really like that it came after a 4-hour bullish pin bar candle right before it. So nice follow through price action there. I mean, if we go even to lower time frames and we look at the 1 hour, then you actually might be testing a little bit of a downsloping channel breakout as we speak. So, you know, maybe you flip this area of previous resistance into a support, you get a little bit of a move back up, not a pullback, a move back up, and we'll take it from there. So it's a good start. But if we have that breakdown on the SPY and for the overall market, which you're currently testing, it's just going to be interesting to see whether or not crypto follows that. And then we have Ethereum as well, bouncing off the demand line. You kind of had this falling wedge turn into like a rising wedge. And I redrew the lines a little bit last night on the stream if you watched it, and you're actually getting a small bounce off that demand line. On the 4 hour, you also did print a bullish pin bar candle right over there. And you also have hidden bullish divergence. So not bad, a little bit of a bounce back. We will see how that continues going into tomorrow. If it doesn't continue, then we won't see, I guess. We also have the US 10-year. This looks like a little bit of a kind of toppy, kind of, I don't know, that's definitely not the right word to use, but like, you know, it's not the best looking candle after a run up, and you are losing momentum on the MACD. You're getting close to overbought on the RSI. If we go into like the 4 hour time frame, you could probably chart like this whole entire thing as like one big upsloping channel. So, you know, maybe those oscillators, MACD and the RSI, lead to at least a pullback down. Let me extend these out a little bit. Maybe they're going to lead to at least a pullback down to at least test the demand line of this upsloping channel. I wouldn't call it a bear flag, even though I do the lines just right. It's a little bit too big for a bear flag, but that might kind of drop you back down over here. And then if you did drop there, maybe it'd also be back testing this area of previous resistance. We'll see. But however, you know, the case still stands. We've been talking about on the stream. You do have a monthly chart breakout. You're getting above these highs from 2018, and you're breaking out of a downsloping channel you've been in since 1988. So we'll see how that continues to affect things long term, but short term might be time for a little bit of a pullback. Then we have crude oil, which is kind of getting towards the top of this bear flag. You might see a little bit of a pullback day soon if this breaks down. That's really the only update for crude oil today. You have some support around 85.47. Used to be resistance over here, and it was support over here. If I'm ever going too fast for any of you, there's a free course in the description. Go check that out. It's on YouTube. We also have gold, still just the same, you know, dragon pattern, nothing really too crazy. However, silver is testing a breakout of this downsloping channel, kind of outperforming gold a little bit in the short term. So we will see if this breakout maybe gets a move back up to around over here, which used to be resistance, like over there. And that's really it. I mean, nothing really too crazy, even with the overall market, nothing that insane happened today. And I feel like most of the streams I've just been focusing on other markets and the stock market indices, because that's really all that's been moving everything. But today was actually kind of a day where the overall indices and other markets were a little bit quiet after the huge drop yesterday. But you, instead of like the macro stuff moving, or the macro markets moving, or you know what I'm trying to say, you actually had individual names moving. So maybe tonight we can actually focus on some individual stocks for the first time in a little bit, rather than just talking about the SPY the whole entire time. But yeah, the dollar currency index kind of back tested. You could see this high from July 14th. It flipped into the support today. It was your low of the day. It was also resistance over here on August 23rd. So that 109.3 level is a very key level short term for the dollar currency index. And then finally, the Hang Seng index is pretty much testing the lowest prices since March, continuing lower. Chinese stocks kind of underperforming. And I was gathering a list of EVs before I went live, and you know, so many of the EV names green, but NIO was actually, I think, close, like slightly red today. So you know, it's not really participating in this little EV rally we're getting, maybe because it's, you know, Chinese stock and the Hang Seng index is not doing well. But yeah, we'll get into the EVs in a little bit. Let's start off with my thoughts on the overall market. A lot of it is the same from last night, and then even from that stream last week, which was titled like 2022 stock market crash question mark. I still do think that this triangle pattern breaks down. However, I have been saying that short term, you are still holding support for now. And I even said last time stream, if you watched it, even if we bounce here, we could still bounce off this support area, this yellow zone, and the demand line of this triangle. Even if we bounce here, I still think you break down at some point. So I'm not sure if we're going to break down tomorrow or the day after, but overall, I still do think that this triangle does eventually break down. And then if we look into the lower time frames, then it's actually a little bit better. You got two large lower wicked candles off of this exact area we were talking about last night on stream. This yellow zone is important just in case some of you haven't been watching streams, because it was resistance in July. In the beginning of July, it was support at the end of July. It was support about 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, beginning of the month. And that's like the key short-term zone. So you did bounce off of that, and that also kind of lines up with this trend line, this white trend line you see from literally the lows of the year until now. You kind of created this little trend line. So title of the stream is huge test for the stock market. This right here is the huge test, okay? Whether or not we break down from this now or we bounce off of this is what's being tested currently. Again, this is all short-term stuff. You know, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say you do bounce here, you keep going up. Then the two areas of resistance to look out for is first around 401 because of these highs over here. And then after that, a gap fill. We gapped down horribly yesterday. So the gap fill is up around like 409, which is crazy. But yeah, so those are like your more shorter term levels. 390 support, 401 resistance, and then keep an eye on that trend line. You do have some hidden bearish divergence. If we go down to the 1 hour time frame on the SPY, we did close with a 1 hour bullish engulfing candle towards the end of the day. Also, before we go into lower time frames, you did start creating some hidden bullish divergence on the MACD. And like if you really look at it, it's close to a double bottom with this being your first bottom and then this being your second bottom, and that's right off of a support too. So it's okay. I still don't trust it that much. But short-term price action is not too bad. And yeah, towards the end of the day, let me go down to the 5-minute actually. You created this falling wedge. I was sharing it in premium, and it just kind of led to a nice little end of the day rally. This is kind of how it started. Around literally 20 minutes before the close, you got a couple of large lower wicked candles on the 5-minute. You had this wedge develop. We were retesting the lows from yesterday, and then it had a nice little breakout and then a little bit of fall through, and you pretty much ran up to the VWAP, I think. So yeah, that was like your little end of day relief rally. But before that, you actually did have this like huge bear flag. It was pretty much like this, and I alerted puts somewhere around like over here, and those puts ended up running like over 200 something percent. Pretty nice trade. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, 266%. I think they were up, let's see, they were up like 80%, yeah, in 20 minutes. So that you could see this was pretty much where it was when I alerted it. Right, it was just breaking out from the flag, and I was watching this for a while.
Good vibes, brother. If BTC holds 19.9 for the 2 or 3 time and 4 hours keeps waning, possible trade setup?
For Bitcoin, why are you revealing the secrets? Yes, that's something I have been keeping an eye on. But I mentioned this earlier in the stream. So we'll come back to the overall market in a sec. Let me just go answer that for Mr. LinkedIn. Hope you're doing well. I don't know if I know what your name is. I don't know if you want to go by that name anymore, so I'm not going to say it publicly. But thank you very much for the $15 tip. Let's get some vibes in the chat. We're Mr. LinkedIn. And yeah, Bitcoin 19.9K. So let's go back to Bitcoin for a second. Let's talk about this. All right, if we go over to the daily time frame. So the parts of Bitcoin that make me want to put out a trade setup is this huge bullish cipher that started with the COVID crash, and you've now double bottomed at the pattern completion zone, the breakout and the back test of this down sloping channel. But what I'm worried about is my bearishness on the stock market, like midterm, and the fact that I think that this triangle will break down eventually. So it makes me a little bit skeptical about putting out a Bitcoin swing, and there's no certainty that Bitcoin is going to follow the stock market, but there has been, I would say, an increased correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market pretty much since like the COVID crash. You can go fact check me on that. That's just something I feel like I've noticed, and I've heard some other people talk about that as well. But it's just, and it's not perfect. There's times where Bitcoin does its own thing, but I'm just saying if overall all those bearish variables we talked about on like the weekly and the monthly for the other markets and for the stock market, if they play out, it's just hard for me to see Bitcoin outperforming literally everything. If it was going to do that, I think it would have already done that by now. Because, you know, for years people kept calling it the perfect inflation hedge. Whenever anybody calls any investment perfect, that's a little bit of a red flag for me. But it's obviously not done a great job of hedging against inflation. It's down an insane amount since its highs, but yeah, that's why I'm a little bit skeptical. If like the overall markets start looking a little bit better technical wise, then I probably would put it out. But for right now, I'm just kind of on the fence about it. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you again, Mr. LinkedIn, for the tip. So yeah, that's really it for the SPY. QQQ still under the importance zone, which is this blue zone around the upper $300 level or upper $200 level, close to 300. It's still under it. So you had a nice little bounce today, but you can see like the bulls were not even able to kind of regain like half of yesterday's losses. Like it was a bounce, but not much of a bounce. So you're still holding this zone. This yellow zone you can see over here, it used to be resistance. You're still holding it. This was your lows from the beginning of the month, but I don't know. We'll see. So really going into tomorrow, it kind of is like this simple on low time frames. Like if you break above 297, then you're breaking above all these candle highs on the 1 hour. That's like a breakout. And then if you break under today's lows, then you're breaking under this support zone. And you've got some lows down at like 290 on the Qs. So that's really all there is for right now. It's just we need more data. You're just testing a key area, hence the title of the stream. Then you had the Russell 2000. Also pretty much the same thing. You know, those 1 hour charts are very similar. You got two kind of bottoms today. You've got the hidden bullish divergence, the bullish engulfing candle. So you have those variables. I guess it's okay as long as we hold today's lows, but you take out today's lows and then I think the selling continues. It's just a question of how long does it take until we take out today's lows. It could be tomorrow, it could be in a week, I don't know. And then we had the ARKK surprisingly outperform all these other major indices. So we talked about it last night. It kind of was just in the middle of nowhere, and it kind of still is, to be fair. There's not a lot of technicals you can do here. I think today was more of just like a growth sentiment type of day. I wouldn't say there was like a technical reason that all these growth stocks outperformed today. It looks like that's just where the money is flowing to, at least for the short term. So we're going to look at, for the next segment of the stream, we're going to look at some EVs now, which were up today pretty nicely. So we're going to get started with Fisker. And we've been talking about it recently. We've been talking about that 1 hour wedge breakout that's been playing out very nicely. And then last night I talked about the big short-term thing for Fisker is whether or not if you're a bull, hopefully you want it to break up out of this resistance first. And then if you're a bear, which, let me just be polite. I'm not going to say anything. If you're a bear, you're a bear. You can have your own opinion, but then it would have had to have broken down from the bear flag. Bulls won today. So you broke out today. You did not break down. So you broke above this resistance zone. You are now above. You could see these highs from the end of August. This whole entire zone is pretty important. So your next resistance is the upper $9 area. So yeah, this wedge has been playing out very, very nicely. On the 4 hour, you got a bullish engulfing candle. And then these are some important highs. You can see that was the same thing I was talking about on the 1 hour that you're taking out. And again, this is yet another low that you have put in. Another major low in the $8 area. Third time now. Third time that you're bouncing off this same exact level. We head over to the weekly time frame. All right. And just see you broke out of this massive wedge. And then you kind of double bottomed. This is your second bottom on the weekly. As long as $8 is held, this is, I mean, if anybody's thinking what I'm thinking right now, say it in the chat. I don't want to say it right now. Like, this is something I might even have to make a video on. And I don't know how I didn't realize this until now. But you are getting a live reaction to something I'm probably about to talk about for a very long time. I'm going to just leave it at that for tonight. But we are going to come back to this. I already see an answer in the chat. I'm not going to say who correctly answered it, but you know, I don't make these faces often. I see a lot of charts every day. It takes a lot for a chart to surprise me. And we'll come back to this shortly. Not tonight, but shortly we're going to come back to this. And I'm going to explain what I was just looking at. I see a couple answers in the chat that are correct. And then, yeah, even that's just like a long-term thing I just realized. I don't know how, like, I literally don't know. I look at that chart, I look at this chart so much, I have no clue how I didn't realize that until now. But look out for an update on what I was just being very weird about pretty shortly. And something else I didn't really talk about on lower time frames, though, is this. On top of that wedge breakout, you also have an inverse head and shoulders breakout, kind of like that. So multiple breakouts taking place, another reversal off the $8 level. We'll see what happens. Let's move on to some more EVs now. Tesla, we talked about this last night. I charted it out briefly. We've got this like cup and handle setup. And I was saying yesterday, you know, it's a little bit fishy to me because you keep rejecting this 200-day moving average, which is like this upper squiggly yellow line. But you're back above it right now. And you did print a bullish engulfing candle today. It's just like, we have all these charts. But I don't know. For some reason, the market, I don't trust it. I don't. And you all know, if you watch streams and you've been watching, I'm typically like, I wouldn't say some people use the word perma bull, like they're a permanent bull. I'm not a permanent bull. I literally just sound like kind of bearish right now, like midterm. But most of the time, I prefer to be bullish. I want stocks to go up. I want all of your retirement accounts to do well. I think it's easier to trade when the market's going up than it's going down, and especially with swings. Maybe with day trades, sometimes it's easier when it's going down with puts, but I prefer when the market's green than when it's red. Call me crazy. But we have all these setups, like the Bitcoin step we were talking about, Fisker we were just looking at, this Tesla cup and handle. And I just want to be so happy about them. I'm just still skeptical about the SPY and the Qs just ruining all of these beautiful looking charts. So I don't know. But we can at least take a look at how these formations are developing. And if I'm wrong about the market going down, which I don't think that's the end of the world, then we can look at a lot of these charts and hopefully some of them do very, very well. Like, to be fair, and I said this the other night, I would rather be wrong about calling for the market to go down than calling for it to go up, right? So we'll see what happens. And again, I never act like I know what's going to happen next. I'm just trying to see what the charts are telling me. So yeah, that cup and handle is developing on Tesla. I'd say you need to get above like 315-ish to break out of it. I'm going to chart that resistance right over there. It's these highs from August, this high from May, some highs over here from February. That's pretty much it. Also, Lucid today, this was a stop hunted swing trading premium, which kind of sucks. But off this bullish hammer candle, it's had a nice rally. Off that close of the hammer candle, it's up about 13%. And you kind of are, let's see. Yeah, you're pretty much testing a breakout of this wedge on Lucid right now. So let me chart up some levels. Those are some like bigger levels for Lucid. And then we have some like EV charging stocks or whatever. Let's look at BLNK, which is testing, and this is the third time it's doing this. Let me clear up this chart. BLNK is testing a breakout of the 200-day moving average for the third time this year. The first two times it didn't really work out. You kind of got above it here, but you just kind of gave it up very quickly. So now the third time BLNK is testing a breakout of that 200-day moving average. You've got hidden bullish divergence on the, again, there's a reason like I'm focusing on these EVs tonight. Not only are they bouncing, but these charts are really starting to look interesting. come on, like why can't the SPY look good at the same time as these charts? Like, but also it's we've seen it before. It didn't happen that much, but it happened a little bit in 2021, maybe even a little bit towards the end of 2020. There have been times where the SPY and the NASDAQ were selling off and you had EVs outperforming. It's been so long. Like somebody, let me see if I could find the GIF. I'm so sorry, I said GIF. This is kind of how I feel right now. Like, it's just been so long since we had an environment where EVs were outperforming everything else that it makes me like feel like this. If any of you know this GIF, I think it's from the Titanic. It's been so long, so it's hard for me to like trust it because we just haven't seen it. But remember, there's some quote about like every moment in the market is unique. Let me see if I can find that. I need to start working on my memory, but I don't know how you work on your memory. I feel like it's there, it's not. See if I can find it. It's really, yeah, I think it's a Mark Douglas quote. It's just literally every moment in the market is unique. So yeah, we'll see. So this is Blink. It's like a massive inverse head and shoulders, hidden bullish divergence, testing and breakout the 200 moving average. Then we have plug, hidden bullish divergence as well. This is also looking like a cup and handle. I mean, we have to keep an eye on these. We have to keep an eye on them and see if they break out. So yeah, there is plug. We also have charge point. I don't remember if this was a premium or a non-premium swing, but that third target I set up is around 19.34. Hit 2 out of the 3 targets. And yeah, I mean, look at this huge wedge that charge point broke out of, and it's been doing a pretty good job since it broke out of it. You've also broken back above the 200-day moving average. Next resistance is around that 1950 level. It used to be support back in April of 2021. It flipped into resistance in March of this year and was retested as resistance in August of this year. And of course, we are going to finish our electric vehicle segment with a very controversial electric vehicle maker. They make a beautiful looking car. It actually won the 2022 award for best looking car in the world, and I believe they're going to take one of these cars and they're putting it in the museum next to the Mona Lisa painting, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we're gonna take a look at another stock called Solo. Yeah, the most beautiful looking car of all time. Let's see what's up with that stock. It's been a little bit of time since we looked at it, and yeah, to be fair, car looks like an egg, but you do have hidden bullish divergence on the daily. You have broken out of this wedge you've been in since the beginning of last year. Almost 2 years now you've been in this wedge and you've broken out of it. You've made a little kind of initial reaction bounce after breaking out, and now you're testing those same lows, so that double bottom potential on a large time frame is currently there. So yeah, I mean, the last 2 times it was at this zone, to be fair, it saw an insane increase. Yeah, so if what happened the last 2 times at these prices happens again with a massive wedge, you know, double bottom and hidden bullish divergence, then maybe I won't be able to make egg car jokes for some time, but we'll see. So yeah, those are EVs. Let's take a look at CLOV now, which was red today, unfortunately, underperforming. It is retesting and actually kind of was under it for a little bit, retesting the lows from the beginning of the month. We talked about last night how that 240-ish level was important. You could see it was support here, resistance here. You're kind of under it, unfortunately. But you got a little bit of a bounce towards the end of the day. If we go to really low time frames, it does look like a little bit of a double bottom over here. Maybe you could chart this supply line. Keep an eye on this tomorrow. So you're just hoping, and you're literally, all you have to do is go up a couple more cents. You're just hoping that you break out of this supply line before breaking under these lows at 230, which shouldn't be too hard, but you never know. So that is CLOV. SOFI today was up 6%. So let's see. I don't know, it's really choppy. SOFI was a swing not too long ago. It hit 2 out of the 3 targets and then fell all the way back down to where I alerted it. You got that gap fill up around like 629, and then you've got some support around 558. So we'll see which level it gets to first. We kind of did finish the EV segment, but fuel cell, bullish engulfing candle today. This was another successful swing that hit all 3 targets for a 48% profit not too long ago. And now it's retesting a breakout of this 440 level. You can see there's resistance over here, support over here. That's pretty much it. Another one, yet another one with hidden bullish divergence developing on the daily. Try to freeze, have a good night. Thank you for showing up and saying what's up. So it's going to be interesting. I'm saying I'm bearish on the overall market midterm, but I'm bullish on a lot of these charts we just looked at. So it's giving me a lot of confusion, to be honest. Like I'm getting mixed signals right now. I don't know what else to say. Uber today, and this is kind of a theme that I'm seeing across the board on growth stocks. Their 200-day moving averages is probably no coincidence that a lot of these growth stocks are actually, I'm not even sure if we can classify Uber as a growth stock, but we'll group it into like I don't even know if it's in the ARK either, but we're just going to group it into that place. I just like looking at all those stocks together, like, you know, that group of stocks that really outperformed during the bull run after the COVID crash. I just kind of think of them all together. But basically, I just think of them as like stocks that are not large cap stocks, but they're not really small caps, but they're not really like defensive mid caps. Like, you know, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But a lot of those types of stocks, and we just looked at many of them, especially in that EV list, they're breaking out of their 200-day moving averages kind of simultaneously. And this is taking place after, you know, had a rough patch in the market lately. So in terms of relative strength, some of them might be down in the last month or two from where they were a couple months ago. But just in terms of relative strength, if you look at it just like the fact that the SPY is going lower, maybe some of them aren't, they're kind of outperforming, and that is something to keep an eye on. Like, even in bear markets, sometimes looking at the stocks that they might be selling off, but they're not selling off as much as the other stocks, can give you an indication that when you flip back to a bull market, those could be the stocks that can outperform because the bears didn't have as much control over those stocks as they did the other stocks. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, Uber, I mean, this is really, I'm not going to count this like maybe one day it was over in August. This is really the first time it's getting over the 200-day moving average since over a year ago. So that's interesting. I'm just going through names on my watch list. But yeah, if you have any take requests, drop them in the chat right now, and I'll take a look at some of the chat requests. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button if you did not already. You know, on the Discord, it's free to join. Links in the description. If you want to learn about a lot of the things I'm talking about on the stream, the link to the free course is also in the description. I should really stop drinking that tea because it's 9 o'clock and I feel wide awake. Thomas says, do you ever look at Elliott waves? We've talked about this on stream before. I'm not a fan of them. There's a lot of Elliott waves kind of try to predict like multiple moves out. I only focus on the next move for stocks. I don't try and predict it goes up and then it goes down, then it goes back up. I just think, does it go up or down next? I just stop there. And then once it goes up or down, I reassess it from there. So I don't say that they're horrible or wrong. They're just not for me. All right, so ticker requests CCNC on the 4-hour chart. Long-term trend is not great. I mean, you could look at this as one like very long-term downsloping channel, but more short-term, you're losing MACD momentum, almost back to red, and you do have like a mini bear flag over here that you might have already kind of been testing a breakdown off of. So that's really it. There's not much else I can do on that one. Neo, an EV that was not green like many others today, but it was just kind of flat. It's testing another name in that same kind of group, testing its 200-day moving average. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on it. But yeah, I think if Neo gets above, you can see this yellow zone I have over here, around like 24. If it can get above that level, then you've got that gap fill at 27.5, and that's where it's gone crazy before. And this is all taking place. Remember those harmonics we were talking about earlier in the summer? This is all taking place after kind of creating a scuffed bullish bat You're getting that, you know, larger move potentially. You have Upstart. Very, very important area for Upstart. These are your lows. It's very similar to like Fisker being at $8 or CLOV being at $2. This is the big area, 22.5. It was your original, like, I guess, IPO low. It was your lows last month. It is your lows this month. This is a huge level. You broke out of a wedge. You're kind of testing a double bottom now. So it's all about whether or not you can hold this level. And if you can, those are your resistances charted above. Arvana, those are your levels. I don't really see much of a pattern apart from that. That's literally it. The chart's kind of already ready for you to look at. That's just take a screenshot if you want to see the levels. Nothing really else to chart there. LI, this is interesting. Bullish engulfing candle yesterday, and it's in this downsloping channel. It's also got another name with hidden bullish divergence. It was just oversold. It filled this gap at 26. This is a very, very key area for LI. You've got some resistance around like 29. You could see this high over here in the 200-day moving average, and then above that, this zone like 35 to 37. Walmart, if it can hold, this is very important, and honestly, it kind of surprised me that I got back above it so quickly. But if it can hold this zone, which was support for like the first half or the first quarter, the last half of this year and the first quarter of this year, like the caffeine's doing the opposite to me. It's just making me like too hyper and I can't focus. But if it can keep holding this support, good. It even used to be resistance just after the COVID crash. And yeah, those are your levels. You could probably chart like a trend line here as well. Keep an eye on that. Did we look at LI? Yeah, we did. FUBO was up 11% today. Wow. Yeah, it's been running after breaking out of this like little wedge over here. And you're taking out all these resistances one by one. You just broke over $5. Not much resistance now until $6.38. It was your kind of lows from over here, but that's more of just a zone. It's not like a perfect price of resistance, but that's really your next resistance. Hitting bullish divergence playing out. Really it. And Meta, it took out a very key support yesterday and traded lower today. This support was held for so long. From literally since June, it's held the support. I took it out yesterday. It followed through with almost a bullish hammer today, but you know, as long as you stay under 154, I don't think that's good. And it's kind of passing the PCZ of a bullish shark now. I mean, this might be the shark that just never attacked, if you want to use that as an analogy. So, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, maybe this eventually turns into like a new wedge or something. That you get the classic bullish divergence to confirm, and then things change. But that's a key level that you're not above, that you want to be above. And PANW key level is around like 176. You broke above it, you even back tested it, flipped it into resistance, and then you have this resistance around like 190-ish, 199, 213. Support at 155. Those are all your major levels. That's really it. All right. So make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you did not already. Timestamps should be up in like half an hour. If you, just a reminder, if you didn't know, we always put out timestamps. Shout out to Medi and Zeke and Chocolate Truffle with the clips. For doing the timestamps and helping for all the post-stream stuff. If you ever can't watch the streams, you've got timestamps of literally every single chart I looked at. It's the pinned comment. You can also use the scroll bar to see them. And now you also have clips delivered on a silver platter to you on TikTok and YouTube Shorts after every night stream. So you can always stay up to date. I'm sure a lot of you are very busy working and trading, and maybe a lot of you have, I know a lot of you have kids, all that stuff. So if you can't watch the streams, find a way to get the content and like a little quick version of it through the timestamps and the clips. We're all working very hard to get those up for all of you, so make sure you take advantage of it. And then during the day, Join the Discord, see everything going on there. This is a 24/7 show, okay? This is a 24. I might be live for like an hour a night, but this is a 24/7 show. So just stay tuned in, hit the like button, and have a good night. Thank you for watching the stream. Peace out.